book is a dream that you hold in your hand. Quote and unquote, Neil Gaiman. Happy morning to everyone. A very warm and wonderful welcome to all gathered here today for a celebration of words, voices, stories that breathe life into silence. It gives us immense pleasure to welcome you all to Author Spotlight, a space where literature meets lived experience and where stories move beyond the page to speak directly to us. Today is not just an event, it is a literary conversation, an exchange of ideas, emotions, and creative journeys between authors and readers. We are delighted to have two remarkable authors with us, along with an esteemed moderator to share, discuss, and inspire. To begin this meaningful gathering, let us invoke divine blessings for clarity of thoughts and openness of art. I now invite Ms. Saranya from 2nd BCA to render the prayer song.
Shri Ganesha Charanam Gajanana Devamuni Varpaniyum Dayakara Shri Ganesha Charanam Nagabaranane Nanmarai Pochum Namane Pranavarupane Jaya Shri Ganesha Charanam.
I invite Ms. Fatima Nilofar from 2nd BA English to deliver the welcome address.
Literature is the expression of the human mind and heart. I quote and unquote Matthew Arnold. A very good morning to one and all. It is with great pleasure and a deep sense of honor that I extend a warm welcome to everyone gathered here today. For Author Spotlight, a program that celebrates literature, creativity, and the enduring power of words of enlighten, inspire, and connect us. We are deeply privileged to welcome our chief guest of the day, our two distinguished authors, Mrs. Harita Ganash and Ms. Dikshitha Kedhari, and our esteemed moderator, Mrs. Kavita Krishnakumar. We are grateful for your presence and sharing your time, insights, and experience with us. Your voice and perspectives truly elevate the spirit of Author Spotlight. I respectfully welcome our Honorable Vice Chairman, Dr. Maragadamani Madam, whose vision and guidance continue to inspire the academic and cultural growth of our institution. I extend my sincere and cordial welcome to our Executive Director, Mr. Varun Krishna Sir, whose leadership and encouragement make initiatives such as this possible. I am honored to welcome our Secretary, Dr. Rajagopalan Sir, whose steadfast commitment to nurturing excellence in education remain a guiding force for all of us. I extend my hearty welcome to our Principal, Dr. Dhanalakshmi Madam, whose constant support and belief in holistic learning encourage us to explore knowledge beyond conventional boundaries. A respectful welcome to our Dean, Dr. Madhumita Kedhari Madam, for the academic leadership and mentorship that enrich our institution. I also warmly welcome our Vice Principal, Dr. Mangai Madam, whose guidance and dedication play a significant role in the smooth functioning and progress of our academic community. I take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome to all our heads of the department whose leadership and academic commitment strengthen the foundation of our institution. A sincere welcome to our faculty members whose dedication to teaching and mentorship continue to inspire and shape young minds. And I finally a very warm welcome to our dear students, the heart of today's program. May this interaction with authors and ideas inspire you to read deeply, think critically, and express yourself with confidence and creativity. Once again, I extend my respectful and hearty welcome to everyone present. May today's program be enriching, inspiring, and memorable for all. Thank you.
Today's spotlight shines on voices that dare to speak the unspoken and on minds that pause between moments to reflect deeply on the human condition. Our first author, Mrs. Harita Ganesh, is the author of the award-winning poetry collection, A Breath Between Moments, a work that gently urges us to slow down, listen inward, and find meaning in silence. Her poetry explores emotion, memory, resilience, and the quiet truths that shape our inner lives. She is a psychology postgraduate with a strong academic and applied background in human behavior, emotional well being, and learning sciences. She holds a degree in psychology and behavioral biology from Boston University and is currently pursuing her MSc in psychology at Stella Maris College. Her work spans student support, socio-emotional development, and psychoeducational outreach across academic and community settings. She is a proud recipient of the Emily Dickinson Award for A Breath Between Moments, published by Bookleaf Publication. Her writing focuses on inner life, emotional truth, memory, and resilience, combining psychological insight with reflective literary expression. Alongside her literary work, she has contributed to education, mentoring, and mental health-oriented initiatives, bringing both analytical depth and emotional clarity to her voice as a writer. We warmly welcome you, ma'am. It is an honor to have you with us today. Our second author, Ms. Dikshitha Kedhari, is the author of Echoes of the Unspoken, a powerful poetry collection that gives voice to thoughts, emotions, and experiences often left unheard, especially those surrounding women's voices, mental health, and resilience. A grade 12 student with a deep interest in psychology, life sciences, and creative expression, she is also a contributor to the scholastic and anthology pieces of perspective in prose. Her writing has earned multiple accolades at inter-school and national levels. Her books was listed among the must-read books to inspire and empower you by the Tribune, and she was recognized as a rising author by Midday newspaper. Her curiosity extends beyond literature into research and science, earning her the Youth Researchers Award for a psychology paper. An accomplished orator, she is also an NCC Best Cadet awardee and currently serves as the additional secretary of the District Antis Club of Rotary International for the second consecutive year. Under her leadership, the club received the Best Club Award and she was honored with the Enthusiastic Auntie Award. Deeply committed to community service, she co-founded two initiatives with her brother, a village recreation center and library for children, and the monthly box, a collection drive for the underprivileged. These initiatives were featured in the Indian Express and Kungumam Tori magazine. A sports enthusiastic, she actively represents her school in basketball and throwball and enjoys reading, exploring new ideas and spending time with friends. Looking ahead, she aspired to pursue psychology and contribute to research that unravels the complexities of human behavior while continuing to create meaningful social impact. We are delighted to welcome you, ma'am. Your journey is truly inspiring. Guiding today's discussion is our distinguished moderator, Mrs. Kavita Krishnakumar, founder, Satyarai Academy, is Cambridge CELTA and National Geographic Certified Educator. She is an English language specialist and a global teacher educator. She has been visiting faculty in prestigious institutions such as IIT Madras, Loyola College, Sastra University, MOP Vaishnava College for Women, Bhaktachalam Memorial College. She has been associated with the U.S. Consulate General Chennai's Diplomacy Program, associate such as English Access Micro Scholarship Program at Loyola Academy and Sastra University. She was a recipient of the U.S. Department of State's Regional English Language Office Service Learning Grant in 2021 and was a RELO grantee to attend the TESOL Conference 2023 at Portland, USA. A passionate storyteller and a stage theater artist, She started a career as an activist at the Citizen Consumer and Civic Action Group. Designing campaigns, career building for the youth has been close to her heart. She has helped more than 10,000 students identify their areas of interest in higher education and professional development. As a professional investor in research, she has presented papers at the ELTAI Conference 2022 in Mumbai and the TESOL Conference 2024 held at Tampa, Florida, USA. She has authored English textbooks based on NCERT for grade 3 and 4 and content-based language textbook on climate change. She has designed and written a comic book on sustainable consumption. As a teacher trainer, she has trained and mentored teachers across India. Some of the key interventions include training of STEP, Master Trainers of the Government of Andhra Pradesh, conducting webinars of District Institute of Education and Training, Rangareddy, Telangana, Department of Education, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Access Program. A warm welcome to you, ma'am. We are honored to have you as a moderator today's session. I now invite Mrs. Kavita Krishna Kumar, madam, to take over the session.
We are very happy to be here, and I'm extremely delighted to interact with two very young poets. We were looking for common threads. These are two different authors and their works. We were looking for common threads, and we found a lot more than their poetry can express. Their poetry expresses. Both of them are psychologists. Both of them are basketball players. And then, and then when they share their poetry, you will also see how there is that underlying commonness that they have. Yet they are both very unique in the way they express themselves. So we thought, we had a discussion before we came here. So before we came here, we sat together and discussed how we wanted to do this. I wanted to be, entirely their work, their presentation. So we'll ask them a couple of questions, general questions. Audience, I would like you to interact with them after they present their work, after we have a discussion. Please ask them questions because having read their book, will leave you with thoughts that will, linger, and that will help you kind of find your way of expression someday. So I'll start with a couple of questions. We want to do it like a discussion. And then at any point, if any of you have questions, please let us know. So to start with, I'd like to ask the two of you, what inspires you to write poetry?
So to answer your question, what inspires us? For me personally, I think of poetry as a space for personal reflection, a place where I can confront uncomfortable truths and very comfortable truths as well. I feel like you need to cater to both. And also, mainly, a space for personal reflection, because I feel like the minute you're, comfortable doing that, you're able to, be there for yourself more. So I think that's what inspires me to write.
I began writing when, all of us have this age group where we start speaking, we say our first word, we write our first word. So ever since I could write, I've been writing. Not to say that it was great. I was writing very childlike stories, but they always started as a way for me to express myself. And it's always been a way that I've dealt with things that I heard about or I witnessed, or even things that I felt. Because everybody needs a form of escape or a form to put the emotions and feelings in their head into words or into a solid format. And for me, that was writing. So when I heard about things that my friends were going through, things that I was going through, things that I was witnessing, reading or watching in the news, it was just a way for me to sort of solidify what I was thinking and what I was feeling at the moment, and hopefully also help other people who are feeling the same thing realize that they're not the only ones who are feeling that way.
So you mentioned that, the way we identify and how we are not the only ones that are going through something like this. Having read through both your poems, I know that I know exactly what you mean, because poems that when I read, I knew it was, oh, this is something I thought of, or this is something that's been in my mind as well. So these were thoughts that were running in my mind as well, and I think once the audience listens to your poems, they'll also understand what we're talking about. One style that I have seen in both your poems, I mean, to individually first talk about Harita's poems, there are contrasts. There are very, very vivid contrasts that we can see. While, our entire life is full of contrasts like that, you kind of see that in front of your eyes. The contrast also is in your mind. You're both sides of the coin. So that kind of a contrast is something that I see very vividly in your poems. And to talk about Dikshitha's poems, I kind of think that there is a voice that you bring in, there is that expressive voice and not really a call for action, but to kind of state things. So what inspires you to do that, or how do you kind of, what was it that
Growing
made you
up,
do
I've never been quiet. I've never been like the kid who's like in the back of the class and not talking. To the chagrin of a lot of people around me, I've been a talker my whole life. Whether it's what I thought about something, I'm very opinionated. If I think something or feel something, you're going to know it whether you like it or not, right? So when it came to that, and I started becoming friends with a lot of people around me, because talking gets you friends. There's a lot of people that are not that comfortable talking and not that comfortable letting everybody know what they feel or what they think. So I was one of those people with my friends where if they felt something was wrong, I would stand up and I'd say, I don't think they're comfortable with this. I don't think they want it. So starting from a classroom background, it's always been a thing of mine to stand up and say, I'm not okay with this and neither are the other people. So it's just a sort of way to sort of say you're not by yourself, because a lot of people have this notion. Even growing up, I had the notion that I'm the only one who's feeling this way. When it's not, there's like 8 billion people here. There's at least one other person out there who's feeling the same thing that you're feeling. So if I can, let people know that you're not by yourself through the written word, then might as well use it to my advantage and let people know that you have somebody out there, right? Maybe it's not exactly 100% your thing, but no emotion is unique to just you. Everybody else is human and they're feeling the same thing.
I strongly believe that human emotions, let's take one aspect first. There are no absolutes. We always exist in contrasts, right from what we want to express outside to what we're feeling inside. I don't stand by that, but that's how the world works, I guess. But I feel like these absolutes are something we need to confront, because I feel like the truth or the honesty resides in this complexity, So I feel like the contrasts need to be put out there for people to be comfortable with the uncomfortable truth and just sit with it. And I feel like this is something that needs to be addressed, not just by me as a writer, but everybody who's reading it. Because any emotion we feel, be it love, pain, grievance, whatever it might be, it's all universal. I might be feeling sad about something and you might be feeling happy about something, but we have that common space we can meet at about feeling something and sitting with it. So I guess that's what led to the contrasts you saw.
Thank you, the two of you, because you kind of, your ideas, I'm sure, would resonate with a lot of us here. While we were talking about how it is important for us to express what we feel and feel comfortable about the uncomfortable truth, I'd like the two of you to kind of reflect a little bit on that. All these experiences need not be exclusively ours, but it is somebody else's experience which can still motivate you to say something. So how important is it for us to kind of talk about these uncomfortable truths?
I'd like to touch upon the fact that you said not every experience is yours, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't speak up about it. For example, I have a couple of poems that are based off of, everyone knows that there's Taliban rule in Afghanistan. They're imposing a lot of extremely backward laws on the women there. Like we can't hear your voice publicly, we can't see your face, all of that. And that is not an issue that affects me because obviously I'm sitting here as a woman and I'm speaking to a very large audience. Everyone's hearing my voice and my opinions. Whether they want to be here or not, you're sort of listening to it either way. But that is still something that affects another woman, another human being at the end of the day. So any person's problem is your problem. That is not to say that you should take it like the weight of the world is on your shoulders and, you know, absorb everybody's emotions and start crying because somebody else is feeling bad. But if you have the capability and the capacity to stand up for somebody else, even if you're not directly affected by it, you should. Because that is, I think, something that you owe to other human beings as a human being yourself, if you identify that way. But since we are part of the human race, we owe everything to other human beings, whether we like it or not. Everything we experience, everything that we consume, that we are benefited from, everything that we have the advantage of having today is because of other human beings. So it's up to us to say, okay, you know, these people have helped me. I'm going to do my part and help them.
Before you start, I just want to say that, you know, you've kind of instilled that sense of responsibility in each one of us, and that coming from such a young person. I must mention that this worldview you know, you may not be able to actually go and help each one out there, but at least talk about it, because now that you have everything in record and you know that there are people feeling that, I think that is the best part of literature and, you know, the entire gamut of backlash literature and feminist literature that we've been talking about, recording that voice and recording, being there to just say that I'm there for you kind of a thing. I think that is a very, very interesting thought that you have presented to us.
Like Mom said, you don't have to go out there and be the next, you know, start the next midday meal scheme to be somebody who helps another person. You don't have to do that, because that is, again, it's 1 in 1,000 people who are capable of going to such a large scale to help someone. Even if you're able to help one person, your sibling, your parent, your house help, you're doing something to play your part in society, even on a smaller scale. It works because we are the next generation of people that are going to come up, and, you know, all the adults they're going to be gone at one point and we're going to be the adults. So unless we have those set of values to say, okay, I've helped one person in the last 30 years of my life, so if I have to go, I can go happy, right? I can go fulfilled, because that's what you need to, at the end of the day, be a human. It doesn't matter, oh, I have 10 crore in my bank account, I'm the next Ambani. That's not really the point. It helps. It definitely helps to be a nice person in a nice Lambo and a convertible. But, you know, even if all you've achieved in 30 years of your life is you've been nice to one person, you've helped somebody in one way, okay, I have food, I'm going to give it to you, right? That, I think, you've played your part in society, so you should feel satisfied with yourself.
Well, I agree with you, but I also believe that to be able to be there for the other person and to be able to help out, you need to start from yourself. So I feel like, you know, the minute you feel that you're not alone because you have yourself, that's where everything begins. You know, you be there for yourself and you have so much to give that you can be there for the other person. So to come back to your question, I think the main purpose of just sitting with it and being comfortable with everything that makes you uncomfortable is to be there for yourself. And also, I want to make a note of this thing. I don't know how many of you guys agree, but I feel like, you know, we're always taught to be nice, compassionate, and understanding when it's outward, you know, how you be with others and how you interact with people. But rarely we're taught to be nice with ourselves. And I feel like that is really important, because perfection to self is not going to get you anywhere. You got to learn. You need to be okay with not being good at something. You need to be okay with not knowing something. And I feel like that's how you kind of navigate your, you know, life and grow. And I feel like ultimately that's the point of life, you know, like you want to grow. You want to be better than what you were yesterday. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, and I think you've left the audience with a very, very important point of how it's important to be nice to yourself. And very true that our culture does not teach us to be nice to ourselves. It's always outwards. So when you start being nice, I think you are a better person. Your first thing is ticked off, that you're a better person to yourself. And if you are nice to yourself, then it comes automatically, naturally for you to be nice to others. So at this point, I think we've had a lot of discussion about the inspiration and how your poems are. I think we've created enough curiosity for the audience to kind of listen to what it is. So I would like the two of you to read out two poems that are very, very close to your heart, like your favorite picks, and share that with the audience.
So I'll start with the first one. One of the ones that I do count as one of my favorites is, I think, a bit too dark, and my mom's right in the audience, so I can't read that one. But I will be reading the one that I mentioned right now, based off of the Taliban rule in Afghanistan, where they said that women's voices cannot be heard publicly. So based off of that, I wrote the poem Hush. So yeah. They don't like it when we talk. Into our houses we are locked. They try to shut us up. Back in time we jump, back to when we were oppressed, back to when we were suppressed. They don't like it when we're seen, our very presence deemed obscene. They try to hide and cover us, their eyes filled with lust. It's our fault you do not know control, and we must fit into your mold. Not to be heard, our silence preferred. Not to be noticed, to pretend like we don't exist. So this touches upon the fact that they said, women's voices are not to be heard publicly, which is a very, very backward statement. I don't think that was even considered as a point, even when women couldn't vote, right? And to know that we're now in the 21st century and we're saying, we're blaming women for crimes that happen against them, or we're saying that you should not be seen publicly, you have to wear the burqa and cover yourself. All of these are laws that the Taliban did propose, which is, as long as it's a choice, that's fine. When it's imposed on you as a necessity to live life safely, that is extremely backward. And so that's where I think I came from for this poem. Sorry for going a bit too fast, guys. They don't like it when we talk. Into our houses we are locked. They try to shut us up. Back in time we jump, back to when we were oppressed, back to when we were suppressed. They don't like it when we're seen, our very presence deemed obscene. They try to hide and cover us, their eyes filled with lust. It's our fault you do not know control, and we must fit into your mold. Not to be heard, our silence preferred. Not to be noticed, to pretend like we don't exist. Thank you.
I didn't know the background story of this. So when I read it, I thought it kind of related to every woman living here. And, there were multiple things that came. I thought probably history inspired you to do this, or that you were able to kind of see that women were trapped in a kind of, thing for themselves. For me, when I read it, I also thought it is very deeply reflective in how sometimes it may not be another person who's looking at you like that. It may be your own self that looks at you like that. We feel trapped, not because others trap us, but we feel trapped because of our own mindset. So I thought the poem actually brought out that inner self and the trapped feeling that we have, we kind of experience within ourselves. It could be very simple. I think it's something that a lot of women would definitely kind of relate to. You know, we're always tied down by responsibilities that we think are on us. Whether it's the way we dress, whether it's the way we carry our culture, we always feel responsible for it, and we think the others may think something if we don't do that, right? So that kind of a thing, I think it's also deeply reflective within. I mean, that's something I saw when I read it. I'd like to open it to the audience if you want to interact and ask a few questions about this poem.
Good morning, ma'am. Reading Hush made me to realize the moment when our voices go unheard. Did it personally related to you?
I think it relates to all women overall, right? I think majority of the audience is female. We've all heard the term of, oh, ratri aayirthe, don't go out, dark aayirthe, don't go out, it's past 6, you know, or you go out, you want to wear shorts, don't do that, there's guests coming, put on your pants. So, right, which is, my mom's like, when have I ever said that? Yeah. Okay. So that's all things that we've heard, right? We go out in a churidar without the dupatta, no, get the dupatta and put it on, or look presentable while you open the door to somebody, because what if you're wearing the wrong outfit or you're going out at the wrong time and then it's your fault, right? So I think that's something that we've all heard as women, girls growing up, is how to sit, how to act, how to behave in public, how to behave in front of the male gaze. So that's all things that we've heard and learned. So it's not just me specifically. Unfortunately, it is half the population of the world has heard those sort of comments on how to be a woman, which means how to stay safe, right? I think that's one of the biggest criteria to being female, is to be safe and be alert and be watchful, know who to trust. Because I think when we make friends, especially the opposite gender, our thought is not, first is not, are they funny, are they nice people, it's, will they do something to me, right? That's the first thought that we have when we make friends of the opposite gender. Whereas in their case, it's, okay, I think she's funny, I think she's a nice person, I'll be friends with her. In our case, it's, am I safe around this person? So when it comes to that sort of a universal truth, unfortunately, for women, I think that's where the poem came from. A personal standpoint, obviously, because I've experienced the same things in the last 17, 18 years. But it's, I think it's for women all around to sort of take notice and say, these sort of micro things that we've grown up with are still, they're not normal. We've normalized them, does not mean that they are normal or right. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, ma'am.
Firstly, I want to appreciate the work, both of you, because it's like felt so meditative, and I feel very calm and passionate by both of your works. And I also writing the personal poetry book for me, like your picture, I want to publish it. But so I just want to ask you that what's the thing you want to convey to the young writers, and how both of you have balanced that autobiographical thing versus the social concerns?
I want to just say something, guys, please don't say ma'am to me. I think I'm younger than most of you in the audience. So you can just call me by my name, that's completely fine. Second is, when I started writing, it was for fun. It was, okay, I'm just going to write something because I had the capacity to write. Then it eventually became a way to say, one, you're not alone, right? All emotions are universal. Humans are emotional beings. So everything that you're feeling, somebody else is feeling the same thing. So you're not by yourself. And there's a lot of, whether men or women, right? A very common thing nowadays is the loneliness epidemic, where we think we're alone, we're too scared to speak, and that leads to, perpetuation of whatever we're feeling. That, as well as, I also wanted to say that, sometimes you just have to accept things and move on, right? It's a lot easier to live, you have like about 80 ish years to live, depending on how you're living, right? But you have to take those 8 years and say, okay, like it is what it is. At one point you cannot control everything around you. I am an extreme control freak. I want everything to be the way it has to be. But life is not that way. So sometimes, things are going to hit you hard. Sometimes they're not going to come your way at all. You just have to say, okay, shrug and move on, because that makes it a lot easier than trying to combat everything that's going on. And that's also another thing that I wanted to say. Message to young writers. Considering I'm also an extremely young writer, I don't think I have the, capacity to or accomplishment levels to give advice. My only thing is write. Doesn't matter what people are saying, because people are going to have something to say. There's 8 billion people here, right, in the world. Somebody is going to have an opinion about something that you may not agree with. So what? Do your thing, because at the end of the day, you're living your life for yourself. As long as you're fulfilled and you're feeling good about what you're putting out there, and it's not hurting or harming anyone, okay, do it. So the end point is do it. And I hope your book gets published. Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, a message. Let me think. Okay, this is something I wanted every reader to take. So I wouldn't necessarily say this is for young writers, I think anybody who wants to write, or just anybody out there reading other people's work, because as much effort as is to create something, it is to appreciate something, right? And also take it in. So I feel like both people need to be given credit. So I would say, I feel like I want everyone to have the permission to be unfiltered. I want them to have, the permission to be okay with anything that they're feeling, and to sit with it, and to choose to begin again whenever they want. Doesn't matter, you're old, you're young, you're a woman, you're a boy, you're a man, doesn't matter. You just begin whenever you want to, and you can choose to begin again if you've faltered, and that's completely fine. I had this conversation with Miss Kavita before we entered, and it's the exact same thing. I think I'm just quoting myself here, but that's the message I want for everybody.
Thank you.
If I may add, I would say, like our poet here said, be unfiltered, and I think don't seek validation. It's your thought process, it's your creation. Don't expect somebody to say, oh wow, it's nice. So just keep creating, whether other people like it or not. I think you should move on with your creation. And putting down your thoughts is more important. And building that ability to express is, I think, more important than being judged or having that fear of being judged. So I'll now invite Harita to read one of her favorite poems.
Sure. So among the two, I feel like this can be, closely connected what Dikshitha already read. And I feel like you guys will be able to relate to that as well. I'm just going to stand up because I kind of want to see everyone here. Okay, so I'd like to start off with this. It's called The Blame Game. The constant need for giving, the constant need to say yes. The constant need to be kept, that's how we met. The endless fights, the endless blame, the endless shame. Well, that's just the game. Dark on the outside, but bright on the inside. Bright on the outside, but dark on the inside. These are the feelings we never find. But the other one does, the one who can read your mind. Kind to others, but brutal to me. Brutal to others, but kind to me.
In fact, this is one poem I thoroughly enjoyed as well. In the beginning, I mentioned that she brings out contrasts. So this is a poem again that talks about a lot of contrasts that you can talk about, and how we've been discussing how sometimes we're very brutal to ourselves, and to others it's you are taught to be nicer. So this is one that reflects that. Any questions that you may have?
Hi.
Hi. My question is, like, in the in the poem you said like the dark on the outside but the bright on the inside, the bright on the outside but dark on the inside. Do you ever think like when someone knows your darker side, is that a curse or a gift?
That's a very interesting question. um, you see, I don't believe that it's a curse or a gift because I really don't believe any contrasts in our life should compete with each other. I believe only when they complement each other, you can be true to yourself. You know, that's the space where you can grow. Thank you. So I wouldn't choose one as a curse or the other as a gift. I believe that I would need both, you know, to exist. Because I feel like it's always about growing, and you're not like here to pick one over the other. You need both to complement you. So what is your opinion on this? I want to know that. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I mean, come on. There's no right or wrong in this. It's your opinion, so tell me. What do you think?
I feel like we should be open to people without anything inside. So bright on the outside but dark on the inside, it's not wrong. It's wrong, I feel like that, ma'am. Yeah. I feel like first line is really correct.
Okay, yeah.
Thank
That's
you.
fine. That's you should be happy, and please give her a round of applause. Like that's, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, and yeah, I have a special interest in psychology and I write poems too.
Wow, that's so
Yeah.
nice. So that makes the three of us here today.
Yeah, I'm a throwball player. And yeah, like the question I wanted to pose to you both is that how do you think your interest in psychology has added depth to your poems?
That's a really nice question. I was honestly really hoping somebody asks us that today because, I feel like any poem, right, like any poetry, be it like something that's addressing socially pressing issues or it's reflecting on personal nuances, right? I feel like everything has a psychological reality to it. I strongly believe in that because I don't see, just because I'm a psychology major doesn't mean that I neglect all the other majors, but I feel like the psyche or like the whole concept of the subject exists within all of us. And I feel like the sooner we're able to meet with that reality through the contrasts, I feel like the better it is for all of us because then we become more learned, we become more open to reality. So I feel like it's absolutely connected. And in fact, I strongly believe that psychology and literature go hand in hand. You cannot separate them.
Pretty similar take. I think when you discuss anything that has to do with human beings, we run on feelings and emotions, right? I think the first thing you learn in psychology is that humans are emotional beings. So you can never separate humans and psychology because even the basic understanding of a human mind and their emotions is psychology, right? It sounds like a really big and a really fancy term, but that's only once you hit college. I've only done the 2 years, 11th and 12th grade with it as a subject. So psychology comes from day-to-day understanding of another person and yourself. So if you want to do anything that involves people, which is anything in the world, because you're surrounded by them, you have to use psychology in some way. It comes from the way that I talk to you in a different way, I talk to them in a different way, I'll talk to my grandparents in a different way. That in itself is psychology, right? So when it comes to writing, I've touched on a lot of the darker topics, which do utilize psychology because you have to get into the nitty-gritties and into the whole empathetic zone of why, and if I was dealing with that, what would I feel like? So since you're interested in both psychology and poetry, I think you're definitely going to do really well then. Yeah.
And another question I want to ask you is like, you write a poem right now, and like when you read it after a while, do you find like more depth and like more meaning in it?
Okay, this was something we did talk about before, coming into today's session. So yes, definitely. Like when I mean, I don't want to sound like a narcissist here, but I do go back and read my own book sometimes. It's not because I want to go read it because it's my book, because I feel like sometimes I just find comfort in the writing.
Like, you forget lessons you have told yourselves.
I wouldn't say lessons I've told myself, but it's just about feeling the comfort, feeling at home, being okay with not being okay. I feel like it's more of that factor rather than lessons, in my opinion. And yes, I do read my work. And also with other people's works, I do. And when I read it, I don't go back to reading, oh, this is by Dickinson, or this is by Harita. Like, no, this is by Dikshitha. I don't do that. I go and I read something because I feel like doing it in that moment. And it definitely hits you differently. I think Ms. Kavita had mentioned earlier that, everything, every time you try to read something, it's a new experience. And, it really reflects upon what you're feeling currently. Like, you're angry, that reflects to you in a different way. The same thing would reflect in a completely different way when you're happy. So I feel like that's what my take is. And also, I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
So, what made you, head towards psychology and literature?
I wanted to know myself to the start, and starting to write poems was just an activity given to me in the classroom, and I started writing it. I continued. I have a pile of 200 poems right now.
Wow, that is really good. So we have a lot of budding authors here. Yeah. I guess you need to make a list and reserve the spotlights for the upcoming, yes. Yeah. What grade are you in?
Can you repeat it?
What grade are you in? Like, what do you study?
In 11th.
11th?
Yeah.
Way to go, and I'm so happy I got to meet you today, Saundarya, and good luck with your venture.
Thank you, ma'am.
And hopefully in the future, we all meet together in an author summit. Yeah?
No, I didn't get you.
In the future, I hope to meet you somewhere in the
sure.
author summit. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
That I was going to make. This is a very big topic of discussion for us. When it comes to literature overall, and I think poetry specifically, right, it's very subjective to the person, right? How I interpret a line that I might have written could be interpreted in so many different ways. When I was discussing with others, the way I imagined it was one way, but then the way I framed it, somebody else thought of it in a completely different cycle. And obviously, as human beings, we evolve and we grow, right? And our mindsets, they do change. So when I reread the book to come and speak today, because I was like, I think I have to know my poems before I come and speak about them, right? And I definitely did have a different take on them than when I first wrote it, because I first wrote it when I was growing, I was a teenager. Now I'm like, okay, I'm going to go into college, right? There's a different mindset that's coming into perceiving these poems. So I think that definitely does change. Also, all the best. 200 poems is really crazy. I don't have, I think I have like 20, and I shortcut those to put it in the book, right? So congratulations, all the best.
Thank
Hopefully
you,
we'll do an author spotlight too, and you'll be in the middle of the three-seater.
Be an honor.
Get to spotlight, share it with others, because pieces of art have to be shared. I mean, I think it is not to get appreciation or validation, but I think it is to kind of let people know that, let people know what you feel. So please bring it out and let us all know.
And also, additional point, writing makes you extremely popular in class. Let me tell you that, okay? Every single event that we've had and they wanted something written, they had to come to me. They were like, no, wait, she has like a book and everything, just give it to her. So you're gonna have a lot of people depending on you. It gives you a lot of popularity. So keep work, at least if, that's one of the perks of writing. So keep at it.
Morning, ma'am. So I have this, ambition of pursuing investigative psychology, And when I've talked about many things related to it, the one thing I found very confusing is about feminism, the differing opinions that people have on feminism. While some non-feminists believe that feminism is about, giving women privileges that men don't get, I believe personally that feminism is all about representation of women just as much as men. And like, I feel like feminism is just about the talk where we don't have to say you are a boy, you are a girl. It has to be like you're a human, you get equal rights. I want to know what your take is on feminism.
Okay, yeah, so there's three terms that we need to define, right? First is you have misogyny, which is men are greater than women. You have misandry, which is women are greater than men. And then you have feminism, which there is no greater than or less than symbol, there's only an equal sign, right? It is men are equal to women. Currently, whether we like it or not, men are here and women are here, right? So it's not bringing them down or putting us up there on a pedestal. It's bringing us both to the same level without harming or hurting the other person. So a lot of, unfortunately, there is an extreme rise in pseudo-feminists, right? Who think, oh, men are bad, women are the best, which I love to agree with it on like a joking basis, right? I love to say, oh, the women are better. But when it comes down to it, we both have our perks. We both contribute to society in different ways, and we need both for the world to spin on its axis as it does today, right? Without men, you wouldn't have a lot of the manual labor that goes around, a lot of the physical things that happen. If you take women, again, if you didn't have men, a lot of first two world wars also wouldn't have happened, if you want to go in that direction of it. But at the same time, if you didn't have women, a lot of our teachers would not be here today, right? A lot of our teachers, a lot of the schools, management at this point would not be here today. None of us would be here. So it's both of us have equal contribution. That's where feminism lies. So if anybody tells you that feminism is bad, just tell them that they're wrong and like put a full stop there. Don't even try to explain it to them. No, like you have the wrong definition. Google it, because there's an equal to symbol, and that just means that you, me, and all the boys in the audience, we're all the same. We all contribute differently, right? We may have our what we're good at, what we're not good at, right? I'm really bad at math. There might be a guy who's really good at math. That doesn't mean he's better than me as a human being, right? He might get 80 in math, I'll get 40 in math. But the point is, as human beings, we're the same. So I think that's where feminism talks about the overall basis of human beings without gender distinctions.
Honestly, thank you for the breakdown, and I think we all needed it today. So, I mean, literally adding on to whatever she said, like, I completely agree with her. I feel like the last bit where you mentioned that another person might be good at something which we're not at, I feel like that's where we also need to understand that men and women are physiologically and biologically different people, and that needs to be accounted and acknowledged for. You cannot disregard that fact. So, for instance, let's take something. Let's take physical education, for instance. So how many, okay, since you're in school, so how many of your physical education teachers are men and how many are women?
Most of them are men, I'd say. More than women, there are many men staff in physical education.
So what does that make you think? Something, factors like that, has that ever made you think in this angle?
Excuse me?
Like when you think about things like this, have you ever thought about in the feminist point of view?
I've just thought that different people have different ways of pursuing what they want, and it's not about, I've always felt like it's not about the gender of this stuff. It's about what they teach. When it comes to teaching, it never is about the gender. It's about what they teach and how they teach. And I've never felt like women are not represented enough in the field of physical education. Because if you see in the National Olympics and everything, I feel like there are many Indian women and many women in general who have brought so much pride to their nations. And yeah, I feel like...
Yeah, exactly why I wanted to ask you this question. I'm glad we're on the same page about this. See, over here, again, we need to understand that men and women are very different biologically and physically and physiologically, So I feel like that difference exists and we all have to come in terms with that. But that doesn't make it a strength for one and a weakness for another, right? So I feel like the whole aspect of equal contribution comes in here, and also understanding the differences are very important because each one has its own, has their own strength, right? So I feel like just because you're good at something doesn't make your friend weaker because they're not as good as you in that same thing. So I feel like at the end of the day, this is what it comes down to. And I hope we've answered your question.
Thank you. Can I ask you something else too? I've wanted to write poems and books, and whenever I sit to write a poem, I face this difficulty in putting my thoughts into words. It's kind of difficult for me to put my thoughts into writing very easily. What part of it, have you ever faced this? Like, how did you overcome the issue?
This is actually also another thing that we discussed. It's about how writers, we can't sit down and write whenever we want. We need something to, push us into writing. All these things I've taken like 3 years to write this because it's not, I didn't sit down and say, now I'm going to write, so I'm going to write, and I wrote like 20 poems at, one time. It's about each time something else happened I was like, I think I want to write about this. This is making me feel something that I don't know how to fully understand, so I want to put it into words. So with your writing, just look for something that sort of triggers something deeper in you, right? And then, do you rhyme when you write poetry?
Yeah.
Yeah. So get your idea, get your plot, right? Get your crux of the poem, and then go on, like write your first line. Go on to Google, search for the rhyming words, okay? And then the sentence forms itself. Like I just go on to like the thesaurus online, and I'm like, okay, wait, this word actually makes sense if I put it here. And then the poem like comes to life on its own. It's about, you don't have to think too much about it, because when you start thinking, you stop feeling, and that's when you can't write, right? Because it's not like physics or math where you think and you use your brain 100%. I think it's a lot more heart than your brain that you're using. So if that is the core part that you're using at that time, I think you can write when something's, when you need to get something across to people and you're using 90% of your emotions, 10% of your brains, right? That's why Google's there. Then I think it'll work for you, yeah.
Nice. I like your perspective on that. Well, for me, I feel like if some of you have gotten a chance to read my book, I think my preface literally says, when you can think it, you can feel it, and you can write it. And that's exactly what you're reading right now. So I stand by that, So, and when you mean like, you get blank, that's what you said, right? Don't try to form sentences. Don't try to, don't imagine that you're already on the finish line when you're writing the book. When you begin writing, it's a great thing, because always starting something is very hard. Like, it's like you want to have a routine, want to wake up early. That one day to wake up at like 6 a.m. is so difficult. I don't mean to spoil anybody here to the faculty, I'm just being honest. But then once you do it, and then you get into the habit, and you can't stop it, right? So that's the same thing with writing. Whatever, if you're feeling, let me think of something. Okay, so I'm sitting right here and I want to write something right now. I have that urge to write, Write down whatever words come to you, like a flower, water bottle, like the fan, whatever you feel in the moment, just pen it down. Because the minute you start doing that, I feel like it gives you the space to continue. Because the flow comes when you keep doing it. It's not when you're hesitant to start. You need to break that, like the space where you're not able to start. So just pen down whatever is in front of you if you don't know how to write. Because once you start doing something, everything else automatically flows. At least it's worked for me that way. So I hope it does for you too. Let me know if you try.
Sure.
And also, what is your name?
Sai Shruti.
Nice to meet you today.
Thank you.
If I may actually add to that, I think with writing, it is also, with poetry, I think there is, you don't need to follow grammar. You don't need to follow rules. You can flout all of that, because poetry is that expression. So you can just write what comes to your mind and then figure out later, or let the audience figure out what they want to. So that is the advantage of writing poetry.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a grammar Nazi, so I didn't fully utilize that in my poems, right? That bad grammar triggers me a little bit too much. But while I am completely against AI, guys, don't use ChatGPT to write. Use Google Thesaurus. You're going to get it. I'm telling you right now. If that doesn't work, then you just sort of sit down, you have the idea, right? Write it down, just the words in abstract form, or sit and just visualize that scenario. And then if you're a speaker, pretend that you're speaking there and you're like, what would I say? What words would I use? And then a poem is basically just speech in stanza format, right? So if you can break it down into 3-4 stanzas that make sense cohesively, then you've basically got yourself a poem. If you're rhyming, you've got yourself a rhyming poem. So yeah, my clutch is thesaurus though, guys. Like, don't discredit it until you try it.
I'm Rasika from class 9, and I have 2 different questions for the 2 gorgeous ladies here. So first, let me ask my question to Ms. Harita Ganash. So, you encourage your readers to own your story regardless of whether they are loved or settled for. How does one write a story, or how does one begin a story when they think it is of a failure and disappointment?
Thank you for the flattery, by the way. I'll take it. And about your question, it's a very deep question. And the fact that you're able to think that way says a lot about you as an individual to me. So before I say what I have to say, what is your opinion as a reader on the same thing?
As a reader, I say like, I don't think it's a failure or disappointment to your own story. For example, like everyone has their own aspect of thinking, everyone has their own aspect of doing their things and all. So that's what ma'am said. You should not seek validation and just do what you're thinking and do what you're best at. Like never get other people's opinion, etc., etc. So I just wanted to know your opinion because I was really flattered and I almost screamed when I read your book, like own your story. That owned a lot. Like that phrase, it just meant so much to me.
Thank you. Yeah, please. Thank you so much, and I feel like my work has been done when you said that, so thank you so much. Again, I just want to touch upon what I said earlier, to be more blunt. When I started writing, I never wanted to sugarcoat anything because life doesn't do it that way for you. Nothing is sugarcoated, right? I mean, you need to be raw. You need to be unfiltered. The reason why I keep using these words again and again is because it's important to sit with it. Because I don't think a lot of us are ready to face something we're not okay with, right? It's the whole thing, when you're in a quarrel or you're in an argument with your loved one or your friend, whoever it might be, many people don't, agree to disagree. This is something I carry with me. This is something I owe this to my mom. Like she's always told me that, whoever it is, you should always give the space to agree to disagree. I personally feel like that's where owning the story came from for me, because when you're able to agree with the fact that somebody's disagreeing with you and you can be wrong and the other person can be right, aren't you already owning your story that way? You already become a better person, right? Because you don't expect everybody around you to agree with you. You don't expect everybody around you to do the things the way you want it to be done. So I feel like that's the space for me.
That was excellent.
Thank you.
So my question for Ms. Dikshitha Kedhari. If you had written this book 10 years ago, what would be the core message and how would the core message be different?
Okay. First of all, you speak really well. You remind me of me 4 years ago, which is not saying much because I was only 4 years ago, but you speak really well. I feel like...
Yeah, because I'm so talkative just like you. You can ask my English teacher there. She always complains me talking in class.
Are you an English teacher favorite as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just love my English teachers. Like they are so they're like so inspiring, and I love them. Like not to all the other teachers.
Oh, you're so adorable. No, I get it. I was also one of the English teacher pets, right? Anyone else, I would take a whole day of English periods over anything else.
Same. Like I would ask my class teacher, like I need extra English period. Like when English teacher comes, I'll be like, give me more grammar questions, and all the other students will be like, stop it, no.
Yeah. I used to go from the middle bench to the front when it was English
Yeah,
period.
yeah.
So, you know, and I've kept in touch with all of my English teachers over the years. So it's definitely it's a really fun part of, you know, when you're good at something and, you know, and you love the person who's teaching it to you as well. It makes it all that much better. But 10 years ago, I would have been 8. So, but I still had a lot to say though, right? I still was very, very opinionated. I think now I touch a lot upon, you know, issues that women face in the real world and a lot of mental health issues that are faced. I think if it was 10 years ago, I would have probably dialed it down to a little bit more of what my friends are facing, right? Maybe there would have been a story here or there about how my mom threw out a certain toy of mine, right? And correlate that to loss. But I would have definitely, I think, also talked a lot about not fitting in with the common groups of people. Because growing up, you know, talking is your strength, but it's also your weakness because then you don't belong to any certain group. You're one of those flitters, right? You're part of all of the groups, but you're not part of any singular one as a core part of it. So in that way, when I was growing up, there was never a group that was like, yeah, that's Dikshitha's group. No, all of them were my groups, and they were all my groups, right? And I was their group member. But at the same time, I was not one of their core people, so that always left me feeling like I was a bit different, which is also fine for any of you who feel that way. You know, different, and now I have a book written about it. So, you know, it goes to show that you can be different when you're 8, and then when you're 18, you're achieving a lot of things in life. So 10 years ago, I talked about not fitting in, having that little bit of confusion about where you play your role in a school setting, in a school hierarchy. And I think that's what I would have been 10 years ago, 8 years old, and not having a solidified group of friends and a group of people that were mine. So hopefully none of you feel that way. And once again, you speak really, really well.
Thank you so
really,
much.
To me, it sounded like you were twins separated at birth. So,
honestly, no, she came in and when she complimented me, I was like, oh my God, this is how I speak to people. Like, no, genuinely, if I was your age, we would be friends right now. I'd come and sit with you in the back. Unfortunately, I think I'm a little bit too old for that now. So
It's fine. It's fine. We can still be friends.
yeah, girl, come on. This is amazing.
So, like, if you don't mind me, if you don't mind me troubling you, I have another question. Have you ever been a chronoptimist? Like, I want to finish this work by this time. Like, I have to write this poem. Like, like at this moment. Like, have you ever felt that urge to write that poem? Like in the same instance, like it's just a pile of work. It's there aside, but still you want to finish that poem. Something like that. Have you ever like been a chronoptimist?
I feel like I've had that urge, I've had that desire to do that, but has it worked? No, not really. It's not really worked because I remember I was given about 1 month to do 10 poems. And then I told my publisher, you see, I'm sorry, it doesn't work this way. It was hard to sit with at first, but then I think I kind of pulled her to my terms, saying that, you know, if you want something good, then you have to wait. But I don't think writing comes that way. At least for me, I need time because the number of times I've revised my work, because initially when I started writing, it was never to publish. It was for myself. So eventually when I decided to let my work out, you needed to refine things. And when I mean refine, not sugarcoat. I mean check upon the grammar. Because as much as literature doesn't require grammar, I feel like my English teachers would hate me if it was not appropriate enough. So yeah. So I feel like that kind of refining also takes time because I know that some of my poems, when I decided to do the refining, I did change some parts of it. because it's just what I felt in that instance and I made that change. So honestly, in my opinion, I don't think a poem or poetry is ever complete in any stance. I feel like it keeps evolving and it keeps, changing with the perspectives and how you grow. So yeah. Also, I want to ask you this. So who is your favorite English teacher? Ma'am, I saw that.
That's a very hard question because every grade I step into, I see new English teachers, and whether they like me or not, I like them.
That's a really good answer. That's a very safe answer too.
So, like, have you ever not released a poem just because it felt too honest and too real? So, were you ever, have you ever felt afraid that something would happen, some legal actions or something?
Bordering on dangerous poems.
No, have you ever felt like it was too honest, way too real?
No, because my work is all about that. So I was not afraid to release it. So whatever you're reading, if you have, or you will be reading if you choose to, it's completely honest. It's just raw. Like there's no like niceness to it, or there's no romanticizing it. Yeah.
To answer your first question, are there any 10th graders in the audience? Can you guys just, no? Okay, thank God. Before I wrote my 10th board exams, right, I was supposed to be studying. And I did, guys, please don't, I studied, but at the same time, for some reason, I was inspired. I was like, I'm going to write something, and I'm going to start now. And I wrote like a whole bunch of poems right before my 10th board exam. So, there was the work that was piled up over there. I had to study like 7 subjects, right? My board exams in like 3 weeks. And I'm sitting here and I was writing and writing and writing. But sometimes, right, that's the thing with being a poet or being an author or just being into writing in general, is you cannot control when it comes. So you just have to sort of timetable everything around it, right? Normally they'd say keep the hobbies around the main part, but with writing, you surround everything else and you base it off of that. To answer your second question, completely in the opposite end of the spectrum, there have been quite a few poems that I didn't put into the book, right? Because these were poems that were personal but also had a message to convey, right? There were some poems that sometimes it's not wrong to filter your truth, right? It's not to say that these are fake or these are false, right? It's fine to filter your truth and then put it out there, because at the end of the day, it's up to you what you let other people know about you. And it's completely okay to keep some things to yourself to protect your self-interest, protect your peace, and also because people don't have to know 100% of you all the time, right? So there have definitely been a couple of poems, even after the book, what I've written, and those are all things that are based completely off of 100% personal relationships or personal issues, where I've quoted things that have happened in real life in the poem. So, are you a budding writer? Do you like to write?
Yeah.
Okay, thank God. I think it's a great service to the writing community for you to also join us. But, growing up, if you're planning on publishing or you're planning on releasing the poems to even like your friends nearby, you don't have to give them everything. You don't have to give them 100%, whether that's your writing or whether that's yourself, right? Because the only person that you have 100% in your life is you. So keep some things to yourself, protect yourself, right? I think that's where, while she is, I think, 100% honest in her books, all of her thoughts are out there, right? It's fine if they're not out there as well, right? I think that's the message that I'm trying to put out there. It's okay if you're a little bit secretive, right? It, I think, keeps the aura of like mysteriousness and like nonchalance like up there. So, yeah.
And I'm a very big fan of your Boys Will Be Boys.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. They're so good. Like all those rhymings and all, you have put so much of your thoughts into it. Like it was inspiring while reading it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And if you write something, I really want to read it, because you're a really great speaker. Like I want you to like go on and keep speaking, right? So don't stop writing as well, because I feel like you write really well. I don't know you, but yeah, all the best. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Something that evolved as we were discussing, we started off with how similar these two were, as psychologists and basketball players. But now, we're seeing that contrast, the contrast, and that's the reality that we have been discussing. And I think it just came out so beautifully. It evolved naturally, like poetry does.
My next one, in fact, I feel like this is closer to me than the other one I read out earlier. And also this marks the first poem of the book. I also call it the emotional spine because it kind of is very, you'll know when I read it. It's called Whispers of the Soul. When the shine spliced through the soul, when the rocks settled for the water, when the leaves rolled to the mundane soil, when the clouds bowed to the sky, when the fire calmed to the cold, when the chaos caught up with the chase, when the memories were carved on the minds, when they said she was gone, she whispered, "Meet me where the sun touches the sea."
I was just telling her how this poem reminded me of times that I had been through when I lost my dad. I knew I wouldn't meet him again, and it was almost like he told me that I'll meet you where the sun and the waters meet. So to each of us, I think when we talk about poetry, the poet has a thought, but I think each reader takes up a different or takes a personal touch to it. So what did this poem resonate with each one of you here? So if we can talk about that. How did this poem appeal to you, or what aspect of the poem appealed to you? How did you feel when you heard it?
Ma'am, is it something you mentioned a particular person, or did you deliberately leave it with the readers to identify the word she within us?
Okay, that's a very good question. To be very honest, on one level, it does relate to someone I've lost, perhaps. But I feel like I said before, every emotion is universal. So I feel like she can be anybody or anything to anyone. It could be a version of yourselves. It could be a memory. It could be a loved one. It could be anything. It could be anyone. So why don't you tell me, as a reader, what would it mean to you? What does she imply to you?
Like the whole poem relates to me. I have related each word. The she particularly teaches me, gives me the memory of my life.
That's really sweet, yeah, and very personal too.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Really nice if the faculty steps in and shares their thoughts as well. Not just the students, We're all students. We want to hear from you guys also, apart from classes.
The moment I heard this poem from you, of course, I'm very naive to all these things the first time, so excuse me for anything.
No.
I felt your thoughts have been penned down very beautifully. The moment I read through, I knew it was a tribute to a person whom you loved most in your life. I hope I'm correct.
On one level, like I said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ms. Harita and Mrs. Dikshitha. It's a really very refreshing moment for all of us to hear something nice from you youngsters, actually. So what I would say is, in today's world, there's a lot of noise outside. And to write poetry like this, you need a lot of calmness in your mind as well as in your heart. So it's such a difficult thing. And I would like you to throw light on how did you achieve this. It's very amazing for me to see this. So I want you to give a take on this to the students here, so that they are also inspired, because they think time is to be spent with others is more effective, but time to be spent with one's own self is what matters, whether it is building on your own self or like Ms. Dikshitha said, to bring human value. So both of you stand on the same thing. You give a purpose to life. So I just want you both to throw a light how to spend time on your own self, how to shut down the noise outside. And congratulations to both of you once again.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for that. I'll start off and then you can complete the sentence. Okay, so I feel like I always try to find the calm in my chaos because I feel like you said, there's a lot of noise outside, which automatically equates to a lot of noise inside as well. So I feel like you need to make peace with that. You need to find your calm in that noise in order to be able to compose yourself and collect yourself together. And I feel like the minute you start doing that, and you just write down whatever comes to your mind, it flows. And the reason I say this is because, so I will not have access to a pen and paper all the time, and I'm sure all of us carry our phones everywhere, right? I'm on a plane, like I'm traveling somewhere, and suddenly I have like this thought run by me, I immediately type it down in my notes. I might, there have been instances where I forget that I've penned those down, and then 2-3 years later, I go back to my notes and I'm like, oh my God, yeah, this is something I did think about, And then in that minute, what I feel flows very naturally to something that's already written. Because some time ago, I had a starting point, which later was one when I wanted to write as well. So whenever you feel like something, you don't really have to, find a space or time to do that, right? So the minute you feel something, you just like jot it down somewhere, or you type it in your phones, whatever is easily accessible to you. And to be very honest, I feel like being comfortable with yourself is very hard because, ma'am, like you mentioned, people want to spend time with others. Rather, I would say for other people, I've seen people where, no, I have to go to this thing this evening, otherwise she will feel bad. Otherwise, they're going to not like me. So, I have to go. Even sometimes I feel like all of this, the power you get with yourself begins by saying no when you don't want to, whatever it might be, to whoever it might be. And I feel like that needs to be taken in the right sense, because when somebody's saying no, then they don't want to do it, and we need to respect that. So I feel like that's how it all began for me. And I feel like if every student can find the space to reflect, I feel like you guys will have a starting point too, because I'm sure it's going to be different for all of us.
Are there any 12th graders in the audience? Yes? No? Oh, okay. Are there any 12th grade English teachers? Yes, ma'am. Okay. So in 12th grade, there is a chapter in English called The Interview, where it's an interview with an author, as is happening now, but on a more formal level, where they ask him how he manages to balance both his personal commitments, his work commitments, and his writing of a novel, in which he talks about this thing called interstices. Yeah, okay. I was like, oh, hopefully I'm just impressing English teachers in every school that I go to. Yeah. Yes. The interstices is basically time periods where we think or that we waste by doing nothing. In the 3 seconds that it takes for your friend to come from the ground floor up to your floor in the lift, you could have written something, you could have thought about something, you could have come up with an idea, you could have used it productively. So I think it's not about taking time away from other people or from your other commitments, because growing up, I was a person, I didn't like to be alone. I had to be around people. If somebody decided to leave after coming to hang out with me for an hour, I would cry that they were leaving because I didn't want to be by myself. But it's not that you have to sacrifice on those things or your wishes to be with other people or hang out with your friends, but it's about utilizing the time that you have by yourself effectively, which is using those interstices to do your work productively. So all of you 11th graders who are going to 12th in a couple of months, thank me when this chapter is easy for you. Thank you.
Harita, I have got one question. I like the previous poem. what the contrast you have identified in you. You have identified in you, brighter outside, darker inside.
Within myself. I feel like contrast is what I've identified with myself. I don't think I can name one. I feel like, this, at least for me, it took a lot of strength to do that. It took a lot of reflection and a lot of time to come in terms, to know that I am no absolute, like I exist in grace. I have both sides to me, and I'm very happy with that.
Really, it's appreciable at this young age you have got the literature interest. But I am looking only the elder version in both the juniors. Knowingly or unknowingly, you both are inspired on your mothers, it seems.
I feel like very knowingly. I think I talk for both of us. We come from households with very, very strong, independent women. So we take upon that path.
Of course. Can you both describe your mother poetically in a single word?
Oh my God. I think it's really unfair that she gave the mic to me that quickly with the question. Okay. I have more experience in life. Like, I'll think about it.
No, the minute said describe your mother, I was like, I'm going to give it to you.
My mother's in the audience. I have to think more.
So someone in the audience wants us to pass this question. And that someone seems to be the dean of the college, sorry.
No, I also think that, poets need that inspiration to say something. So we will pass the question.
I have a word. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is, sorry ma'am, it's not very poetic. It's a very normal word, which I think can become poetic. And because also I don't want to get too sappy. I have to go home with my mom after this. And I can't let her know that I like her too much. But I would say one word that I'd use to describe my mother is strong. Because I'm not going to reveal everything in public, but my mother is a PhD. She's a dean, and we made a really big shift a couple of years ago, like 3 years ago, from a different country back to India. And I think, coming from, again, as a woman in Indian society, you have a lot of struggles that you face, right? And as a woman with ambition, who wants a strong career, as my mother does today, you have to fight against the odds still in the 21st century. There's a lot of, it's easier for a man to go to work and return at 7:30 and they'll say he's working for the family. But a woman goes to work and returns at 7:30 in the evening. What are your children doing without you, right? When you're both contributing the same way to your families, to your children, right? So I think in that way, she has defeated a lot of odds, and it's because she has defeated those odds that today I can stand up and say, I'm not scared to speak, right? I'm not scared to cut off ties if it means I'm standing up for what I believe in, because my mother has the strength to do that first. So it's more of following in the footsteps sort of thing. So everybody thank your mothers when you go home. Yeah.
I stand on the same line with you. I feel like a lot of us can resonate with that. In fact, ma'am, thank you for bringing up that question, because very interestingly, my first book, A Breath Between Moments, which we're discussing right now, I've dedicated to my mother. And I feel like whatever I do here on, like in life, or whatever I've done until now, it would always be dedicated to her, because I feel like she is my everything. And whatever I am today, like I owe it to her, and I'm sure like a lot of people sitting across me agree with that. Whether you're 12, you're 21, or you're like in your 60s, I'm sure you guys agree with that. So if I have to describe her in like one word, I would choose resilient, because I feel like, thank you. I keep looking up to her. Like, it's not that, I don't think a day goes where you don't look up to your mother and you learn something. And honestly, I know I'm not like very old right now, but then I think being in my mid-20s, I feel like I've become very needy for my mother, like compared to how I was as a teenager. So I don't know if you can agree with that, but so this always makes me think of, like I'm just in my mid-20s and I've become so needy for my mother. What about, all of you, like grown women out there? Like how much will you guys need your mothers? Like it always makes me wonder, like I feel like the older you get, the more you want to be with your parents, the more you want your parents, right? Like I hope you guys can resonate with this. Yeah, like I feel like resilient is the word, and if I can take your time, I just want to read out a couple of lines that I'd written in my book. My book starts with that. It's a dedication to my mother, if that's okay, ma'am, because we're talking about mothers today. So, for my mother, who taught me resilience and love, who held me through chaos, believed in me when I faltered, and reminded me that every fall is a chance to rise. This is something I wrote for her in my book.
Well said, Harita.
And yes, this is very personal, but also I feel like what she has made me today, I'm able to reflect that on the people who are my readers, because I feel like everybody needs this push. So I wouldn't keep this knowledge that I've been gifted with just to myself. And I want everybody out here to take that, doesn't matter who you are. Definitely take this, because I feel like there'll be one point in your life when you're sitting and you're thinking, and the first thing that'll come to your mind is your parents. Because, I don't want to make this thing all about, like giving back or something like that. But it's all about gratitude, I don't think any of our parents want anything, want us to give back to them. Like, they just want us to be happy. So I feel like a little bit of gratitude down the way will go a long way. So I hope each of us can do that at some point in our lives.
Good morning, ma'am. My name is Sadakshini from Department of BCom CA, final year. Ma'am, I'm a little nervous now because this is my first time holding a mic in front of everyone. My question is, when did you know that you want to be a writer, ma'am?
The truth is, I never knew I wanted to be a writer. I feel like when I started writing, like I said, I think you had mentioned this earlier, right? You started writing like so many years ago and you don't even know when you wrote what, right? So I feel like that's the same with me. In fact, I do remember when I started writing, I would say around like when I was in the 9th grade. But none of my writings were supposed to be published. None of this was supposed to be out there for people. But it was just my thoughts initially. So yeah, like I don't think I ever wanted to be a writer, but now that I have that, a title to me, it sounds good. I like it. Would definitely pursue it further, but how I started was not to be one.
Okay, ma'am.
No, sorry. Ask your question.
Ma'am, what are all the difficulties have you faced while writing, ma'am? Like, what if there are any grammar mistakes, or what if I didn't finish this poem, or like that, anything?
Yeah. Okay, to answer your first question, while I did start writing very young, we all go through phases as kids where first you're like, I want to be a princess, and then I want to be a rock star, and then, after those points, it did come, and I was like, I want to be an author. Thanks to Enid Blyton and J.K. Rowling, right? But that was always sort of a farther reality that I figured out, okay, maybe I'll write something when I'm like 30, when I'm 40, right? And I never realized that I would be able to step into that field and, get that entryway this young. So I think getting into it younger is it's a gift. So gift from not my like talent-wise gift. I meant like it's grateful for getting that entry into it so early, right? And to answer your second question, there's a lot of poems that I have unfinished, right? I have like, I've written the first 2 lines and I'm like, actually this is boring, like I'm not gonna do this. Because I just get bored with my own idea. There's a poem in this, the one about, one called Mad, where I written the first 3 lines. No, I written the first line and then I left it for like months. I was like, I don't like this one that much. Forgot about it, wrote multiple others. And then I came back to it later and I was like, actually I really like this line, now I'm going to continue. So, you know, disliking something or not being proud of something that you do it's part of the process, right? Because failure happens whatever you do, right? Whether it's in physics, I didn't get the equation that I'm supposed to get, or I don't know, I don't do physics. I'm assuming, right? Or chemistry, my titration doesn't work or something like that, right? Or with writing, this doesn't sound great, this is not what I wanted to put out there. So, you know, it's a part of the process. You just have to shrug it off and say, okay, fine, like I messed up, I'll write another one or I'll fix this. Because a lot of the poems that I wrote it raw, I wrote it for myself. And then when I gave it in for editing and proofreading, it was like, okay, people don't get what I was trying to say because I was writing it for myself. And so in the beginning, when people were saying there need to be a little bit edits here, these change this a little bit, it felt like failure. It felt like, oh my God, have I not written well enough for you to understand what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, it's a working progress, because when I'm putting this out for people, it can't just be something that I understand, because then I could just make up my own language and write poems in that, right? I'm writing for the people to know that there's somebody else that's there with them. So failure is part of the process. It's part of life. You know, as long as you're like, okay, whatever, you throw it to the side and you move on, I think that's what matters more.
Okay. What's your favorite part of writing, ma'am?
I think this is not an answer that, you know, most people say, oh, the process of like feeling what I'm writing, but definitely I think the end, when I get to see my result, when I get to see that, okay, I've sat here for like an hour typing on Google Docs and then deleting and backspacing and then opening like 3 new thesaurus tabs on my window and everything. It, you know, it matters. It made sense and it came to a solidified result that I actually like and that I actually am proud of. So that end result of seeing that, okay, the effort that you put in like paid off, at least a little bit. I think that's the most rewarding part, because when I write the first couple of lines and then I write the last couple of lines, right? I leave the middle for like afterwards, right? So that I can feel like, okay, wait, okay, I've accomplished, I'm already done with it. And then I can, you know, then actually get into writing it and finishing it. So I think the end result is definitely my favorite part of the
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
And you said you were very nervous because this was your first time. I think you did incredibly well. And yeah, please. Because you know, like I said before, like as much as, you know, we are sitting here because we've written something, it takes a lot for you to read, reflect, and come and ask us. So you need to be proud of yourself. And don't be afraid, because whatever you're saying, it's what you're saying. There's no right or wrong. And please continue doing this, because you need to get over, you know, being scared of holding the mic. You'll go a long way, I'm sure. So good luck with everything.
I am having only one common question to both of you. So mostly stories and poems usually concentrates on actions or some other fictions, but yours concentrates in the inner experience we used to face. So why did you choose this? And what is the personal thing you thought while writing this?
Okay, the first thing instantly both of us thought right now is because we're psychology majors. That's something that came up instantly to me. But I don't know, what do you think? What is your take on this?
You know, I think, you know, once again, I think it takes, I'm not going to speak for all psychology majors because there's a lot of people who are not that into the subject, but I think to truly be somebody who gets psychology, you have to be an empath, you have to be empathetic. And so that focuses less on actions and more on the why of actions, right? Which is what I've always wanted to study. Why do you do something that you do? Why am I perceiving it this way and you're perceiving it a different way? Because we feel differently about it. right? And once again, humans are very emotional beings. Everything that I do is triggered based off of an emotion that I'm feeling. So, when it comes to that, instead of focusing on the outer, this thing which we cannot see, right? In psychology, there's overt and covert. Overt is what I can see. I can see you do something, but covert is its inwards. I don't know why you're doing it. And getting to know why you're doing something is, I think, the base of understanding how it reflects in your behavior and your actions. So personally, that's why I focused on the inner turmoil or conflicts or feelings of the people.
To add on to that, I feel like when you're studying something like psychology, right? You learn not to discount anything you're feeling, in words or within the self, because I feel like a lot of times people don't do that. You're so concentrated on living up to a standard that's set for you outside. You're so focused on what is my my mom going to say, what is my my extended family, or like your friends, your teachers, whoever, in the society. So I feel like the minute you start learning these things, how, again, coming back to contrasts, I think that's the highlight of the event, because I feel like it's very common in both of our works. I feel like as psychology majors, I feel like we've learned not to discount that. We've learned to face the contrasts, and we've learned to live with it. And I feel like the minute you can do that, then you're good to go. What is your take on this, since you came up with that question?
I won't usually express myself, so that's why I came to ask that.
Yeah, see, thank you for being honest, because I feel like you need to start doing that. And you need to be comfortable doing that. And in order to get there, you need to begin somewhere. So,
sorry for
interrupting. No, please go ahead.
So, as I said, I won't express myself that much. According to you, why it is important to express ourselves out?
Why do you think it's... I know what I'm going to say, but since you said you're not very expressive, but you've come up with this question.
I am expressive, but not in the way I want to.
What is the way you want to?
I will be... only people who are really close to my heart or close to me knows me well. But I want to express or speak what I want, but I will never do that in the place I actually wanted to.
Okay, and let's break this down. Are you okay with that? Yeah. So why do you think you're not able to do that?
Fear or judgment?
See, exactly right, because we are all trying to... I'm just not saying you, this is all of us. We've all been there, and I feel like being able to come past that is why we are able to produce work like this and meet people like you and connect with people like you. So I feel like you need to start being comfortable with the discomfort. Yes. So try it, like today, like you said you were not expressive, but did you realize how expressive you were just now? Like that's really good. So I feel like the minute you start doing things like this, the more comfortable you become with yourself.
Yes. Thank you for your advice.
No, seriously, I think you should be proud of yourself.
Thank you.
A lot of times, I'm sure we all have been in that space where you really wanted to say something, but it probably wasn't the right time or the right place to say it. But making peace with that, I knew I wanted to say it, but I didn't say it because I made that decision and I'm okay with it. I think that is where you get yourself to kind of get to that state where you're agreeing to disagree with your own decision. And that is important.
Hi ma'am, hi Miss Dikshitha. So I have a common question for you both. Why poem? Why did you choose a poem to express what you want to say instead of a story or any other biography or any other thing? Why did you choose poem?
So I'm pretty 50-50 on poetry and prose because I've written like a short story, right, with Scholastica, and I have a couple of my own other short stories pending on Google Docs, right? But there's a certain sort of ambiguity or abstract quality of poetry that I think draws you toward it, right? Where I don't have to specify everything in the exact words. I can leave it up to interpretation. So, maybe this sounds a little bit lazy, but it's a lot less work to do than prose, right? I can leave it up to your interpretation. For example, I have a poem in here. It's about the heart and the head, right? And there's the last line goes, and they were tethered by a thread, one of them are heart, the other are head. I was just writing about it thinking, they're connected, they're related. But then discussing it, I realized that there's people that are contemplating this as, the biological heart and the head's conflicts and its connection through the nervous system, or, a connection through like the tali that you're tying, when it's a husband and a wife, or it's a connection through your relationship or your familial bonds. So, it's a lot. I was not thinking of all of those dimensions. I just said they're connected by a thread. Yeah, okay, right? But when it's poetry, it's a collective ownership, right? I'm not writing this book as me, right? It's not just me, because both the reader and the writer are putting work into it by interpreting it in different ways and giving it a life of its own. So in that way, I think poetry draws people who want to put in a little bit less work into its arena. Yeah.
I think I'm going to sound a little different from what you said right now. Actually, I think that when you're writing a story, you need your characters, you need your protagonist, you need your antagonist, you need your line of progress, you need your climax. But then I feel like there's so much uncertainty when you're writing poems. It's like you have nothing certain, and it's like you start off a blank page. Because when you're writing a story, you really can't do that. You need to define things. So with poetry, I think it is a lot of work because you don't know where this is going to take you. You don't know how you're going to start this. So it's a blank page, and there you go, start. It can start with a dot, it can start with a line, it can start with curly lines, it can start with anything, So personally for me, I'm not somebody who's very comfortable with uncertainty. And I feel like that's why I chose to do poetry, to become comfortable with it, because life doesn't work that way, nothing is certain, and you have a lot of changes, you have a lot of uncertainties coming your way. So I feel like that is the reason I chose poetry over prose. Are you a writer?
Not yet, but I'm planning to start write. And I want to ask the next question is there any right time or right mindset to start writing something?
Wait, before I head on to next question, what are you leaning towards? Prose or poetry? Or neither?
A prose.
And why is that?
Because I really like to go into details and explain the characters, because when I read a novels or a book which involve a lot of characters, I really like to see different perspectives and point of views. So I'm leaning into a prose for now.
That's great, and good luck with that. But coming to your next question, I don't believe so. I don't think there's a right mindset or a time or a place. I think we addressed this earlier as well, but no, there is no time like that. I'm sure you've seen in many movies, if you're familiar with Indian films, let's not take it too far, but they show writers, right? They're not able to write and finish things within the given deadline, because that's exactly what creative process is. You cannot put a deadline to it, but that doesn't mean when you're committed, you overdo that commitment, but you need to find your space within that, it's not that you decide, okay, like on Monday morning, 9 to 10, I'm going to write. It doesn't work. I feel like the minute you decide something like that, like for sure you're not going to do that in your 9 to 10. Like something is going to come up, or you just wouldn't be able to do it. So I feel like you need to have the flow to do it. And when I mean the flow, you need to be at most yourself to do that, because what you're producing is authentic. You're not chat GPTing it, or you're not taking it off like Perplexity, whatever, right? Any AI for that matter, or anything. It's what inspires you. You take inspiration from what's around you, you combine that with who you are, and then that's what your work is at the end. So.
Same point, right? There's no right mindset or right time to start writing, right? Because the right mindset is the writer's mindset, right? So if you feel like you're a writer and you feel like you want to write, you've already gotten into that mindset. So just start putting words on the page. It'll eventually make sense. You know, you'd edit it, but like it'll start to make sense, right? And like she also said, you can never sit down and schedule writing, right? Because writing, whether it's prose or poetry, is too abstract and too fluid to say this is the timeline that I'm going to set and I'm going to sit and write. Because I've done that. I've like, okay, you know, before I study or after I study, this is the time I'm going to use to like write down things. It's never happened. I've always gone to, like scrolling on Pinterest or something, and it's not worked out because, you know, it's too fluid. You need to get to the right, you know, the ideas have to flow in that sort of, you know, this thing called flow state that they now talk about on, like, part of the new brain rot is like flow state, right? Unless you get to that for writing, you cannot get to the end point that you want to reach. So if you have this sudden like urge to write, just do it. Drop everything else. Maybe don't drop everything else. But like, you know, sideline a little bit of the not so important things and then get to it, because there's no right or wrong mindset to writing except a writer's mindset.
So next question is for Ms. Harita ma'am. You have written The Whispers of Soul. At the last line is, meet me where the sun touches the sea. Is it a hope? Is it a closure? Or is something entirely different? Or it's open for the readers to interpret?
It is completely open because I very, very strongly believe that any emotion that's, you know, that I felt, it's universally felt. So because you reading it might be hopeful to you, but for me it might be resent. So it's definitely up to the reader because I wouldn't want to influence anybody's thoughts. Yeah.
What was your emotion when you wrote that last line? For you it was a hope or a closure or entirely different? Because I want to read the author's mind.
Can you read the author's mind?
Trying a bit.
Okay, well, congratulations on your attempt. Let's see. So, Whispers of the Soul, right? When I talk about this poem, I don't think of it as one thing. I don't think of it as just one emotion, right? I personally feel that it's about embracing the loss with the absence and also feeling the presence even after everything is gone. So, how will you categorize this?
This is entirely different from what I thought, so it's new.
So can you read an author's mind?
Definitely not.
You're going to be one soon too. Okay, so this was what I felt when I was writing because, you know, we had this conversation earlier as well, and I'm so happy that all of us are on the same page because whatever the three of us got to discuss before coming up here is precisely what we're talking about again. So I was telling about how, be it pain or healing, and mostly healing, right? You can never like romanticize it, and it's a process. It's not something that's abstract. It's like you're hurt by something, you face like an immense challenge, and it immediately makes you very strong or resilient. No, it doesn't work that way. It works because you're ready to deal with it. It works because you reflect upon it. It works because you're okay to move, you've accepted it and you're okay to move past it, right? And how you choose to begin again is one of like, I feel like it's a major theme across my poems in my book. So I really think that it's everything combined together and I wouldn't label it one thing.
So next question is for Ms. Dikshitha, and they say the poem are two ways, either it speaks for you or it speaks to you. I felt your poem speaks for me because it was all in my mind but I couldn't bring it out in words. When I read your poems, I felt like, okay, this is what I want to say. Oh, there isn't it, there is it. And I had the excitement, also the internal struggles. And I want a question from the poem Paradox. You asked if selflessness is a selfless. That was really made me pause and think, oh my God, it's something to think.
So my take on that line was, you know, is selflessness not a paradox? For it is us who feel better. We give so we get. We give so we feel like we played our part in society, right? That while I'm not, you know, I don't want to demean anybody's good intentions in life, right? But a lot of humans are driven by emotions, and one of those emotions is selfishness, which is not wrong if it's in the correct, intensity of where it should be. But it's, if I see somebody who's on the street, I have a packet of food, they want the food, I give it to them, right? One, I'm giving it to them because they're hungry and I have it, right? And I can afford to give it to them. So that's out of the goodness of my heart. But at the same time, I'm also doing it because I'll feel bad if I ignore them and leave, right? I'll feel like a bad person that I've not helped somebody out. So that way, selflessness is also sort of selfish in itself, because you're doing it to feel better, right? And you do feel better. That doesn't mean that the action that you've done is wrong, right? No matter the intention, you've done something good to help somebody out. But subconsciously, what you're doing is, you're doing it so you don't feel like a bad person. You feel like, okay, I've done something good for society. I've helped somebody who's in need. And that makes you feel better about yourself. That is not to say that all people are selfish and, you should never help others. Because at the end of the day, you're helping somebody out, right? Whether you get a little bit of satisfaction from that, you deserve to feel that satisfaction. But there is no such thing as 100% selflessness, is I think what I was trying to convey through the...
Because that particular poem made me pause and think about all the lines. That's why I wanted to mention it.
This question is directed just to you because you're the one who wrote the poem Illicit. Particularly the last line, that's what intrigued me. You said carcass instead of other words. Carcass generally refers to the dead, the remains of an animal. Why did you specifically choose carcass? You could have gone with corpse, you could have gone with anything else. Why carcass? Was there any special meaning behind it, or was it just a spur of the moment thing?
So before I get into my answer, what does illicit reflect for you? What does it mean to you?
Forbidden. Something which we should not have, something that's wrong, but something that we can still have.
Okay, so again, we're talking about contrasts here, right? Something we want to have, but we cannot have, I feel like that's precisely why I used carcass. Because I feel like when you start off reading the poem, does it look like the death of a loved one? Does it seem like that? It
Mostly,
does.
it did, which is why I connected to it a lot, because it made sense to me. And I was wondering, because the whole thing, it had a lot of hidden meanings which I could detect, and I just wanted to see if the last line was the same as what I thought, or was it something else?
So I feel like the reason why I put carcass there instead of any other word was because I wanted to bring the contrast. Like, it doesn't matter what, like you said, it could be like an animal, it could be a human being, or it could just be like an instance or a memory, or even a version of ourselves, right? It could be anything. So when I started writing the poem, like when I was kind of midway, I felt like, in fact, firstly, thanks for bringing up this poem, because this is one of the poems where I actually got like 80% of it without a break. So I feel like when I was about 80% done, I was like, am I writing about the death of a loved one, or like a match made in heaven that's not gonna be together after this? And then that's when I realized it kind of seemed like that, but I didn't want it to. So I feel like it was very deliberate.
Okay, and the last question is actually common to all three of you. Ma'am, you please answer as well. What do you think is more difficult to write, a story or a poem? Because I personally have done both. I have a published book with one of my friends. So it was a story, and at the same time, I've also written poems. So I've done both, and I personally felt stories to be easier than poems. So just wanted to get your opinion on it.
I agree with you. I feel like I said the same thing earlier as well, because I feel like with stories, you define things before you get started. You are certain about what the story is going to be before you before you start writing your piece, right? And you don't get that with poems. So I think I agree with you on that.
For me, I would say the art form chooses you. When you are an expressive artist, it is the form that chooses you, and it is that period of time when, you may have a poem written inside a story that you have built. You could come up with the illustration for the same. You may not be you may not be an artist, but you would be able to come up with an illustration because you're visualizing it. So I think the art form chooses you when you are in that mindset or when you have that itch to write, draw, whatever.
Like I said, I'm very 50-50 on which one it is, right? Um, I don't have the attention span to write a full novel, right? So, like I said, poetry is it's a sort of a lazy man's game, which, it appeals to me at some points of time, but at the same time, I've written, a couple of short stories, which they're easier because you get to, again, you have a structure that you sort of follow, right? And I'm a person who needs that structure, right? So when I want to build within two straight lines, prose appeals to me. When I want to just make like a whole bundle of random scribble lines and abstract, then poetry appeals to me. So I think it's 50-50 depending on the type of writer and type of person you are also.
Thank you very much.
We have the poetry. We have another poem to listen to. So I think if your question if it's a common question, can it wait? If it is specific to this poem, then we'll take it. Yeah. So we'll listen to her poem and then probably come back to you.
Okay, mine is also the first poem of the book, and like a lot of her poems, it talks about a contrast, right? It's about how we perceive ourselves, how we perceive others, and how others perceive us, right? We usually have a very negative impression of ourselves compared to how we appear in society when it's, when in reality we might seem like the perfect sort of person to somebody else as others do to us, right? Everyone around her was a straight line, drawn by a perfectionist, a perfect man, drawn with a brand new ruler and pencil on a new sheet of paper, drawn once and flawlessly. But when she looked at the mirror, she saw the drawing of a tired architect, a drained man, drawn with a broken ruler and a blunt pencil, erased and redrawn over and over again, the drawing done on a crumpled sheet. Yet when he looked at her, he saw the work of an architect who had drawn a temple, a gifted man, drawn with a ruler and a pencil that formed new shapes, drawn and drawn again till perfected, drawn on a paper with the ghost of wondrous ideas. To him, she was the work of a broken man with magnificent thoughts. Thank you. So, again, the poem talks about how, when we look at others, we always have this notion of, oh, they have a perfect life, or they're the perfect sort of person, I wish I was them. And then when you look at yourself and you have that comparison and you consider yourself less worthy or less than whoever you're comparing yourself to, when somebody might be looking at you and thinking you're just as perfect as the other people that you're comparing yourselves to. So it talks about how we have a negative self-concept when it's not, in reality, you might just be an amazing person, and it's about your self-esteem and your self-confidence that has to come into play.
In fact, when I met with them, I also kind of spoke to them about how some of us, the ones on the teaching side, come from a different era, and the young poets that we have are from a different era. And this thing of what you perceive and what the reality is all the more stark now, because you have a virtual world and you have the real world. And for us, it was more imaginary, but for the rest of the generation that exists now, it's real, and you see that artificial. While you want to call it artificial or virtual, you have a virtual world and the real world, and that imagery, I think, is very, very vivid right now. And this poem, I think, in that way, kind of blends all of these confusions that you have, right, wrong, real, unreal, all of that. So thank you for bringing this to us. So we had somebody with a question. Yeah, please come.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Aditya. So generally people say that you you should not talk a lot when you're very happy or very sad or very angry, when you're extremely filled with a particular emotion. So this is one of my 3 a.m. thoughts. So the thing is like, what takes more courage? Either to write a thing about the same emotion which you are extremely feeling right now, or to read about the thing when you are in the same emotion.
My take on it, to read it. Because I feel like when you're writing, you have clarity. Whatever's inside is taken out. But when you're reading it, you're consuming it and you're trying to break it down within yourself. I feel like that one's more difficult. What about you?
Same, ma'am. For me, reading too, because like when we are writing, we'll just pour on all our thoughts in it. But when we are reading, we will go through, and if, for an example, if we are writing something happy, we'll just make sure that it's the most happiest thing which we ever write. If we are sad, we'll make sure that it's the most saddest thing we'll write. So the improvisation makes it more emotional.
Yeah, I really agree with you, because when you're writing, you're kind of reflecting, right? You have a let out and you feel better after that. But when you're reading, oh man, it hits you. It's like, you know, like a train ride going through, like it's...
Just splash on to our face.
Yeah,
again.
exactly. What do you think?
I was originally on the 50-50, you know, both takes effort. But I think you guys sort of tilted me back to your side a little bit. You know, hearing you guys, it's true, because when you write something, you know, you have the ability to edit it, you have the ability to change it, right? So it's not 100% of your deepest, darkest, whatever you're feeling at the moment, right? And you're able to sort of say something or write something, get it out of you. But when you're reading it, you're imbibing it once again. So while it does, you know, help you get clarity as well of what you're feeling, at the same time, it can also reinstate what you're feeling by reading it again in such a, you know, format. So I think reading takes a lot of courage, because you take in somebody else's thing and then relate it to you, and, you know, hopefully work through both of what you're feeling at the moment.
Ma'am, actually, from first, I'm not a big fan of poems. But after reading your works, Illicit and Architect got me fall for it. And the thing is like, the depth in the poems are extremely amazing. I take my words back when I was saying that poems are just small, short things, but it's goated.
Thank you so much for the honesty, because I think that takes courage, you know, to come up and say something like, you know, you've just unlearned something you learned.
So much.
Yeah, I think that takes a lot of courage, and thank you so much. It makes us want to be better writers. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And the thing is, so what, do you feel it and you write it, or like, do you see it and you write it, the poems? Like, I am an artist, so if I am drawing, sometimes I feel it and write it and draw it, and sometimes I see it and draw it. So is it imagination or the things you see in real life? What is the main, what is the main thing in order to get the perfect thing, a perfect poem like Architect and Illicit?
I feel like it's a process for me. It might be something I see, which would just, you know, be in my mind, linger around. And then I would feel something one day, and I would be able to make a connection. And then I have the work. So I feel like even though the two things stand independently, I think the combination of both is what leads me to produce something that's good, because I think, you know, we kind of coexist that way, the two things. So.
No, same. You know, I can't express what I'm seeing unless I'm able to feel it, right? So a lot of the poems are based off of events that have happened to other people, right? Obviously, I have not faced Taliban rule, right? And I'm reading it on the newspaper, but at the same time, I have to sort of imagine what it's like to be them in that position where you're not allowed to speak, you're not allowed to be seen outside. And that's when the words really will flow. Because even if, you know, you said you're an artist and you draw, like, even if you're seeing something and you're drawing it down, you have to be able to feel some sort of relation to that object that you're drawing to get it to the level that it can be. Because I can write and put words in a paper, but it's not going to have the same intensity if I don't feel it or relate to it, right? So it's about what depth you want the poem or the artwork to go to.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I have given friend request to you in LinkedIn and Instagram.
I will. And do you have like a portfolio for your work by any chance?
I'm not into writing or writing a poem or stories, but I am into reading it. So I love reading your works. Thank you so much. I have a portfolio of myself. I have it's extremely different. Like I was having a juice brand, and it just is paused for now because of studies and so on. So I'll share it to you.
Yeah, you said you were an artist, so
I
what
mean,
about your drawings?
yeah, I am an artist, a part-time artist. I do freelancing and I do this stuff, and I just didn't understand myself yet. I am trying to.
Thank you so much and good luck with everything.
So Aditya, you're a perfect explorer, so you're still exploring different things, and I'm sure you'll figure out what you want to be at some point, or it's okay to be like that.
Wait, what grade are you in? Okay, that's what.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, what actually inspired you or pushed you to publish your poems? So, what about you, ma'am?
For me, so there was a point when I was taking a break from everything else I was doing in life. So I feel like I got a lot of time to sit and write and sit and reflect. So I think I just used that time to publish.
So, writing poem always been like voicing out my deepest emotion to everyone. So, something that I cannot share with everyone. So, have you ever felt the same way?
Yes, I
Yeah.
have.
You have. So, when you published your book, what were your thoughts about it? Like, have you ever thought, like, what are others going to think about it?
I really didn't think about it that way, like what would other people think of my work. But I was more focused on what I want my readers to feel, like when I decided to publish my work. I just wanted everybody to know that whatever everyone feels is like every other person can feel the same way too. And I feel like everything needs to be acknowledged and accepted. So my main, motive to write this book or even like get it out there is to make people know that they're not alone. The biggest strength that they have is themselves. That was my main reason. I know I did mention this before as well, but I feel like that's what made me publish it, because when you have so much knowledge, when you people rarely talk about like your inner reflections and be it like self-esteem or whatever, it's always connoted to people outside and the societal norms, but rarely it's about like working on yourself, right? So I feel like I wanted to provide a platform for that.
Thank
So I think we will kind of come to a closure with the discussions. I think we've had a very, very enriching, close to 2 hours of, in fact, when we started, yeah, so when we were in the room discussing, we said, I just hope that there are questions or there are people that talk to us, engage with us. I think this has gone a lot more beyond our expectation, which is very encouraging, because the idea of doing an author spotlight is that people engage with the text, people kind of reflect on what they have read, reflect on the work they've done. And for teachers of literature, I think it's a great pleasure to see that the younger generation engages with literary texts. So that I think is a very, very encouraging thing. So I thank the management, I thank the principal, I thank the dean, I thank everybody for organizing something like this and inviting authors, identifying authors that can inspire students. And today I think the two of you have inspired every single soul in this room to either be a writer, be a poet, or express themselves in any way. And I think one thought that we're leaving everybody with is to be comfortable with the uncomfortable and just kind of recognize that it's okay to be like that and you don't have to really judge yourself. So thank you so much, ladies, for coming here and participating and sharing all those thoughts and being raw, like you would say, just being honest. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Before we close, no questions. I think we had enough questions from everybody. Lovely questions, and you guys gave great answers. In fact, we were all waiting with those questions to be asked. These people took up all our words which we actually wanted. This is actually an honest testimonial from me, being an English teacher here for over 17 years and knowing Harita, I think from grade 5, and getting to know Dikshitha from grade 12. I saw Harita grow this way, starting off with very small poetries and now blooming into an absolute wonderful poet. And yes, yourself too, Dikshitha. See, as we spoke about contrasts in the poetry, I can see the contrast sitting right in front of me, right here, because she's bubbling with thoughts to, bring some renaissance into the society. That's what I see in her. And here I see a young woman grown up with strong, concrete ideas of self-love, self-realization, which comes as the last rank in the, self-motivation is the first thing. If you all know what is that triangle that we say, Maslow's theory, where all your basics are all, psychology, correct? All your basics are all done, and then that self-actualization reaches. And I'm really surprised and proud that at this age, you guys have touched that point, and you are giving back something to the society. It's not just you kept it for yourself. I can see the contrast, and definitely this is required by every individual. You need to stand up for the society, and before that, you need to stand up for yourself. First know you, and then you know the others, yeah? Thanks for opening our eyes for most of us here. I think it was a great eye-opener. You all agree with it, and thank you. God bless you. Come up with more great work. Looking forward to see more from you, and thanks, guys, for posting such lovely questions. There's still one more question, I suppose. Yeah, sure. I think we still have time with them. Boys, settle. We still have time with them. We can catch up again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I just want to say something. I am not new to this place, but I am new to the event, and I'm new to the kind of responsibility thrown upon me. So firstly, ma'am, thank you so much for being our guide today and taking time out. And Dikshitha, I'm so happy I got to meet you. So initially, I think before we started off the session, we were talking about how we seemed like, like two sides of the same coin, and I feel like I can really stress upon that. We are. So thank you so much for being here in the middle of studying for your boards. Yeah. Also, I really, really want to take today to thank the management. I want to start off with the Vice Chairman, Dr. Marakatamani. I want to thank our Executive Director, Mr. Varun, and also, what do I call you? The pillars of the college? What do I say? Okay. No, but you all are definitely the spine. You make us stand together. So thank you so much, Ms. Madhu, our principal and our vice principal. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. And the thing is, I'm so, so happy to see such talents coming and sitting right across us, because we are just getting started. And yeah, like I was saying, we are just getting started, but most of you are already there. So I'm so, so happy. And I think Soundarya, you said you have about 200 poems written. Please preserve them. Don't lose them. It's a collection. It's your portfolio. Keep them safe, because I'm sure even if not now, later, they'll really be helpful. And to all the other budding artists, all the best. And we really want to see you share the same platform with us, grow more, be better than us, teach us, inspire us. So thank you so much for being here and for your time.
Thank you, madam, for taking us through a wonderful, thought-provoking and inspirational journey. Now I request Madam Principal to share a message on behalf of Madam Vice Chairman.
A warm good afternoon to all of you. It's a proud moment for all of us. It's not being a principal, but I could resonate the feeling of each and every mother who is sitting here feeling proud of you both. So we share. We are really happy. Normally we talk a lot. Now today all of us were awestruck watching our children speak. And I think this will be lingering in our minds for many more days to come. And would like to see you both blossom into beautiful flowers. And I hope that we continue this journey together. And thank you so much for sparing your time. And Kavita, as usual, thank you so much, Kavita, for being here. Because we were very specific, we wanted you to be here. And I think we have done it. Myself and Madhu had a very big dream of doing this event. But the architect of this program is missing today, our Madam Vice Chairman. And I think she is the person who's behind every happening in this campus. I don't have words because all of us are here because of her inspiration, she being a role model to all of us. And I'm extremely honored to read this message from her. I think it will be something very special to both of you. So in her words, I read, "Happy morning. It gives me immense pleasure to acknowledge and appreciate the two budding young poets with a profound passion of poetry, Mrs. Harita and Ms. Dikshitha. Hearty welcome to our institution. This day marks a bright beginning which will foster love for literature and provoke young minds to pour out their concern. I'm truly impressed with the meaningful steps taken by you both into the world of literature through your poetry. Your powerful thoughts reflect not just creative expression, but also deep awareness and courage. Through the thunderous words, you have given voice to thoughts that inspire inner strength, self-belief, trust, and reflection. Your poetry has the power to awaken, heal, and inspire. Speaking about both of your work, it beautifully carries that echoed voice forward. As emerging authors, you have shown that sincerity of thought matters more than experience, and that heartfelt words can leave a lasting impact. I admire the sincerity with which you have shared a part of yourself to the world. May this just be a humble beginning of many such unvoiced expressions. Keep writing, keep believing, and keep inspiring. Voices like yours are most needed to shape a more thoughtful and empowered society. Wish you, Dikshitha and Harita, great success and many more milestones ahead. Your voice truly matters. All the very best. What more you can ask for? So thank you from the desk and thank you so much.
Thank you, madam, for that honor. As every meaningful gathering deserves a grateful conclusion, I invite Ms. Sujita from 2nd BSc Microbiology to propose the vote of thanks. Excuses. As a token of our appreciation and respect, we will now honor our distinguished authors. I request our Madam Principal to kindly felicitate the authors.
Good afternoon, everyone. As we conclude this inspiring session of the Authors Spotlight series, it is my privilege to propose the vote of thanks. Our deepest gratitude goes to our featured authors, Ms. Harita Ganash and Ms. Dikshitha Kedhari, along with our moderator, Mrs. Kavita Krishnakumar. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your compelling voices and for showing us how poetry moves between silence and strength. We extend our sincere thanks to our Madam Vice Chairman for the constant support and encouragement. Deep sense of gratitude to our respected Executive Director, sir, for all the support and guidance. Our thanks goes to our Madam Principal, Dr. K.R. Dhanlakshmi, for being a pillar of support. We give a special thanks to our Madam Dean, Dr. Madhumita Kedhari. Thank you, ma'am, for your hard work and for being the main person behind this Authors Spotlight series. We also thank our Madam Vice Principal, Dr. S. Mangay, for the constant help and guidance in making sure everything today went smoothly. Finally, I want to thank to our faculty members and our students together, to the teachers and the team who worked behind the scenes, and to the students for being such a great audience. Thank you all for being here and making this event a success. Thank you all and have a great day ahead.
Thank you, Sujita. May today's conversation linger long after this event ends, echoing in your thoughts and inspiring stories yet to be written. Thank you all for being a wonderful audience. Thank you.